This right here is the all-new third generation Volkswagen Tiguan, and it's a little bit more expensive like all new cars, but it is bigger in size and it does also come with more tech. And I'm going to find out if it's any good. So if you are new to the channel, please like, share, subscribe, and let's get straight into the video. Before we start, what are some of the key things that you need to know before you walk into a showroom? Firstly, there are a lot of competitors to pick from in this medium-sized SUV segment, and the Tiguan range starts from under $45,000 before on-road costs, and there's also a wide selection of model grades and engines to choose from, and not to mention a selection of colours and options as well. And moving on to ownership, Volkswagen offers a 5-year unlimited kilometre warranty, roadside assistance, servicing plans, and a guaranteed future value. And finally, a big thank you to Vale Volkswagen, who have allowed me to test drive their Tiguan demonstrator. And if you are in the market for a brand new Volkswagen, they are located in the Southern Highlands of New South Wales, and I've shared their details in the description below. And if we now move on to the styling, on the front section you get matrix LED headlights with LED DRLs, automatic high beam assist, and an LED light bar in the center, and it's also a lot more rounded compared to the previous generation. And I've got to say, this is a car that you need to appreciate at night time with all the lights on, because it does definitely stand out in that environment. Additionally, this of course being an R-Line, this gets you a sportier bumper bar design with gloss black inserts integrated within that open air vent. And if we now move on to the side view, this R-Line gets 20-inch wheels that are finished off in a black and silver paint combination and wrapped around in these thin profile Continental tyres. Additionally, there's also gloss black wheel arch cladding, power folding mirrors, silver roof rails, and as you can see on the top section, this particular car has been optioned with a panoramic glass sunroof that opens and closes. And if we now move on to the rear design, at the back you get these 3D effect LED tail lights with an integrated LED light bar. There is also a Volkswagen badge in the middle with Tiguan badging, a subtle roof spoiler, and dark privacy glass from B-pillar to the end. And this being an R-Line, you get a sportier looking bumper bar trim with gloss black inserts. And as always, styling is subjective, so write down your feedback of what you think of this all new generation. In my opinion, I did prefer the boxy shape of the outgoing Tiguan, but I've got to say, in the flesh, this does look pretty good. Write down what you think in the comments down below. And if we now move on inside, this comes with a brand new remote key with keyless entry and push button ignition. Now when it comes to the design presentation, compared to the previous generation Tiguan, this feels more like a Touareg opposed to a Golf SUV, which is a very good thing thanks to this big 15-inch screen and the screen ahead of the driver. And there's also customizable ambient lighting with multiple color selections, and you can also configure the gauges as well, and that is a feature that definitely stands out at night time. And when it comes to build quality, the door slam feels nice and solid. You also get soft touch materials on the top section and where you rest your elbow. And over on the top here is all nice and squidgy, even in the center section and where you rest your elbow on the armrest. And this of course being an R-Line, you get a sportier looking steering wheel finished off in leather, and that feels nice to grip onto. And that is complemented by the blue stitching and blue highlights across the cabin, and the sporty looking leather appointed seats, and complemented by the blue stitching. But like on all cars in this segment, it does get a bit hard and durable when you look lower down, even on the doors. But overall, this is a big improvement compared to the previous Tiguan. Next, if we now move on to comfort, you get tri-zone climate control with a dedicated menu for your climate functions, and the two front seats can be heated and ventilated. They both also offer electric seat adjustment, lumbar support, a seat memory function, and along with a massage function. And finally, the steering offers both manual, tilt and reach adjustment, and the wheel itself can also be heated. And if we now move on to infotainment, it all runs off this 15-inch touchscreen, which is very easy to use. And this will go into your main menus, and this will go into the car's settings. You click this to go back, and you can also adjust your volume and temperature with these sliders here. but they have gotten rid of the touch sensitive buttons on the steering wheel, which is a good thing. And there's also a volume dial down in the center that also interacts within your driving modes. And moving on to some of the key features, there's inbuilt satellite navigation with 3D mapping, and that is what it looks like on the screen. There's also integrated voice recognition, and if I go into media functions, the R-Line gets an 11 speaker Harman Kardon sound system, which does sound pretty fantastic. There's AM, FM, DAB digital radio, Bluetooth, USB connectivity, and for your smartphone, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which are both wireless. And that is what CarPlay looks like on the screen. Additionally, this car can also receive updates. It is also connected, and you can also download an app onto your phone to access some of the car's functions. And you can also go into vehicle to look at the car's status. And if we now move on to safety, this comes with a 360-degree camera system with multiple angle views and a semi-autonomous parking feature, which means this car does have the ability to self-park itself. Additionally, you also get front and rear parking sensors and a front and rear cross-traffic alert, an auto-dimming rear view mirror, autonomous emergency braking, blind spot monitoring on the 2 door mirrors with a lane keeping assistant and a lane departure warning, adaptive cruise control that keeps you within distance between yourself and the vehicle in front, and integrated within that is a speed limiter and a semi-autonomous steering function. And on the screen is the driver fatigue monitoring system, and over in the center, speed sign recognition. And if we now move on to the drive modes, using this dial, there's Eco, Comfort, Sport, Individual, and of course Off-Road and Snow, this being the all-wheel drive version. And I've also just learned something. You can go into atmospheres and change the overall colouring, so energetic will make the whole cabin red. And if we move on to this display, as you can see, it is very configurable in terms of the information you want to see within those 3 circles. And you can also change the configuration like what you can do in a more expensive Volkswagen or Audi product. And on the windscreen, a heads-up display showing speed, speed sign recognition, driver assistance and mapping directions. And finally, storage. On the top section, there is no sunglasses holder, but you do get a decent sized glove box and a spot here for a mobile phone. And if you lift this up, that is going to reveal 2 wireless phone charging pads along with 2 USB-C charging ports. There are also 2 small cup holders in the center, and you can also remove this bottom section for more storage, and the classic adjustable armrest which moves in and out, and beneath it is storage that goes down pretty far deep, along with a 12-volt socket and an adjustable cup holder section. There's also more storage underneath the steering wheel. And finally, on the doors, the door bins can fit a big bottle of water, and they're also belt lined to prevent things from rattling. Let's now move on to the rear seats. So as you can see, this front row seat is set in my position, and I've got plenty of knee room. Toe room is also pretty good, and so is headroom. And you can also move the seats forwards and backwards, and also recline them backwards and forwards. And if I move over into the middle seat, again, good knee room, toe room, and headroom is also pretty good, considering that there is a driveline hump in the center. Now when it comes to key features back here, you've got some device holders on the top section, map pockets behind the front row seats, directional air vents with a climate panel, and 2 USB-C charging ports. There's also decent door bin storage that could also fit a bottle of water. And over on the top here, grab handles, LED lighting, and a Kodal hanger. And if I look in the center, you've got a flip down armrest with pop out cup holders. And finally, for child seats, the 2 upward seats are ISOFIX compatible. And right behind me, there are 3 top tether points. And if we now move on to boot space, you get a power operated tailgate as standard across the range. And if you have the key in your pocket, you can use a kick down function to open the boot. And from what I can see, you do have enough room for 2 carry-on suitcases, a single large suitcase, and you can also drop down the second row seats quite easily by pulling on these levers, and that will increase your boot volume. And for all the key specifications about boot capacity, everything you need to know is on your screen right now. And if we move on to other key features, there are cutaway sections on either side with a little section on top of that wheel arch, tie-down points to keep items secure with a shopping bag hook, LED lighting and a 12-volt socket. And not to mention, you've got a flat load surface, and this is really good in my opinion, a space saver spare tyre. Before we go for a drive, what's underneath the bonnet? This engine is in fact the same powertrain unit from the Golf GTI, which is referred to as the 195 TSI engine block, and in other words, a 2-litre 4-cylinder turbo petrol engine. And this develops 195 kilowatts, 400 newton meters of torque, and 0 to 100 is in 5.9 seconds, all mated to a 7-speed DSG gearbox and an all-wheel drive system. Right, moving on to the driving impressions. Over the bonnet there's great forward visibility, and you've also got a nice commanding driving position. There's also good side vision, decent sized wing mirrors, and at the back, rear vision is also very good. And when it comes to the controls, you've got a gear selector over by the top right section, and you just push that forward to go into drive, back for reverse, and the middle is neutral. And finally, this button is to engage park, and there's also a parking brake down the bottom here and your drive mode selector dial. So if I just push that in, as you can see, you've got your different drive modes. Now, driving around in comfort, the adaptive suspension works really well, especially around the countryside and around bumpy and broken road surfaces, speed bumps, gravel roads. It is a very nice car to drive around in. Probably the most comfortable in this segment, and it's also an easy car to park despite this being a little bit bigger than before. There's also hardly any wind noise coming into the cabin. Not so much tyre roar, but you do hear them crash about a bit. I think this would ride just a tad more smoother with the thicker profile wheels. This of course is an R-Line version, so it is a little bit on the firm side, but nothing too compromised. In terms of steering, again, thanks to this being all-wheel drive, there's a lot of confidence when you flick it into corners, especially in the countryside as well. It does feel direct, and you've got a good sense of what the front wheels are doing, and the brakes are also pretty progressive but smooth at the same time. And if I just change it down to sport, put my foot down, it picks up speed pretty quickly, and the gear ratios are nice and smooth. This is of course a DSG gearbox, which are known to be a little bit lurchy, but Volkswagen have been producing these transmissions for a very long time, which means they've ironed out all the creases when it comes to the jerkiness. As you can see, when you just put your foot down, it's pretty much instant. There's no lag, maybe a tiny little bit of jolt, but yeah, it's a far better improvement compared to previous generations. So for getting up on the motorway and overtaking a lorry, it's got more than enough power. And if we move on to driving aids, as you can see, the steering assist works pretty well, combined with the adaptive cruise control. There aren't any annoying beeps and bongs which you commonly come across in most brand new vehicles. And finally, fuel consumption. On your screen are all the key figures that you need to know, the claimed fuel consumption and what I was able to achieve. And of course, if you go for the front wheel drive, less powerful versions, they should return a better figure. But for an R-Line with all-wheel drive, I think this is pretty efficient. So with my driving impressions out of the way, let's now wrap up with a verdict. So then, what is my final verdict on the updated Tiguan? Well, this is definitely an improvement compared to the previous generation, as it does come with a bit more tech, a bit more wow factor, but at the same time it does feel very premium on the inside, and it also feels very refined behind the wheel as well. But tell me in the comments down below, would you go for this or another competitor? Because there are a lot to choose from, so write down your feedback in the comments down below. And if you've also gained value from this video, please give it a like, share, subscribe. But for now, I will see you in the next film. Thanks for watching.